Let's go. Welcome everyone. Tonight is the imaging challenge for Q3, Supernova Remnants. Chris was not able to make it tonight, unfortunately, so I will be the MC tonight. We're going to do sharing our images of Supernova Remnants. I would like to, if you're willing to share, like what your personal challenge was with capturing the image. And then maybe, if you had to change something or if you had to go back, like maybe what would you do different? And let's see. And then after that, we'll share non-supernova remnant images in the second half of the meeting. Does anybody mind if I go ahead and share my images first?
I'm fine with that.
Got the screen shared already. All right, let me make sure I can do this. So I cheated a little bit with my first one. This is an older set of data, but inspired by Ben, we were talking about untracked uh, images if it was worth trying for Veil. And I had some old data, like a couple years old. It was with my uh, uh, I'm sorry, ASI 533MC with a UVIR cut filter. So it wasn't narrowband. It was shot at f2 because I shot everything wide open back then. But it was 3 exposures of 15 seconds. So I played around with it, and I'm not going to zoom in because, boy, howdy, does it look rough. But I thought those were really interesting and kind of speaks to something that I would generally say is like if you think you might want to try something, just go for it. Because the results could be surprising. Uh, the 15 seconds was what I could do with a barn door tracker with my DSLR with the same lens. It's the Rokinon 135 millimeter. So it's not far-fetched to do this, not untracked, but with a do-it-yourself tracker. So, all right, cheating out of the way. On to other stuff. So with that same camera lens, I got the Rokinon 135 with the Ogma AP26CC, which is the IMX 571 sensor with the one-shot color. And this is SH2 91. It's in Cygnus. One thing I've realized since doing this is that the supernova remnant in the top left is much larger than I initially thought. So I've actually got it framed up for some more data collection with it, centered. But the nebulosity was very interesting to me. And there's a nice star field. So the challenge with this for me was I got a new filter, an Antlia ALPT high speed. I shoot the Rokinon at f2.8, and I'd been using an L Extreme. There was a lot of halos with the L Extreme, and I was curious how much data I was losing from bandpass shift. Turns out I was losing a whole lot uh, because I get a whole lot more with this filter. I'm not going to use the L Extreme with the camera lens anymore. I've got it in a filter wheel, which was other part of the challenge. I put the filters in a filter wheel instead of a drawer. I played with the back spacing, trying to nail it down better. It's not quite 100%, but it's pretty close. So a lot of physical, optical train changes, tweaks in doing this. This was a little over 4 hours. But I also got it in broadband with UVIR cut, which is my background image as well. I really like this picture. You can just kind of barely make out the supernova remnant wave over here, which is what I thought I would be capturing. I was surprised with the narrowband shot, but then you have dark nebula and the star field and all that. I just think it looks really cool. Another one, this one was so I've got a 24 panel mosaic of Cygnus with the Rokinon. Hold on one second. Garage door closed below me, kind of loud. Um, so I got a 24 panel mosaic of Cygnus and I was panning through it. I realized that previous Supernova Remnant was in Cygnus when I looked at the mosaic, which I haven't finished processing. I don't know why I do it to myself, these large mosaics. But I found this little SNR here, which it's got a really memorable name. G073.9 plus 00.9. And it was right on the corner of four panels. So I was like, well, wonder if I could smash all those panels together and get a better image. The answer was kinda. I ended up taking only two of the panels, and then so that was 47 images. This was narrowband, so 4 minute exposures. Tried registering them in weighted batch pre-processing. 16 of them failed to register for some reason. I used a reference that I fabricated from the mosaic. 6 of the registrations were wild, like completely distorted. And then I had to drop a couple more. So I ended up with 23 frames. Drizzled it, cropped it, and processed it, and got this, which I thought looked pretty interesting. So the challenge with that one was, what can I do with trying to produce a single image out of multiple panels of a mosaic? Several rounds of starting over from scratch were involved. All right. This is one of the last images I took with the orange tube C8 that I have. It was centered around a star, HIP 103079, which is this guy in the bottom left, and it's part of Western Veil Nebula. So this is with the ASI 2600 mm, so monochrome, shot in H alpha and O3 with RGB stars, so HOO. Almost 9 hours total. Now, Western Veil or Veil in general is a large target, so this is just a tiny chunk of it. And I thought like I'd pick something that was obscure. I didn't see people image, so it was away from all the bright stuff. One of the challenges I was trying before I took this data was to see if I could get the stars to be better on that old C8, playing with the back focus. The answer was no. It was horrible. But yeah, this is what I ended up with. And then to show you where it is, this is an older wide field of Veil I had. And I just kind of superimposed that particular picture. So it's just a little chunk off the broom in the bottom. All right, one more. Not super happy with this one, but it's a new scope. It's a C8 Edge HD with the ASI 2600 mm. So challenge, new scope, dialing in back focus for an actual flat field. It's pretty close now. Tilt has been a fun pain. Gonna try again, I think maybe tomorrow night. And I've taken no flats with a panel. Started using sky flats and used only sky flats with this, which is really fun because if I get set up soon enough, I don't have to touch my scope if it's polar aligned. I just walk away, which is really nice. Things I've learned with this, so what I wouldn't want to go back and do different is get more data. This is shot at at f7, so it's not as fast as the old C8, which was at f6.3. So yeah, I might get some more data on it. This is 9 hours HOO with RGB stars, not a lot of time on the RGB. And the target, sorry, target is another fun one, G1126.2 plus 01.6. Going for obscure targets. All right. So I have no more supernova remnants to share. If somebody else would like to share something? Marshall's eating. Ben, are you available? You mentioned you had an image to share.
I can share some.
Awesome.
So in terms of Supernova Remnant, I've got only one, which is the Veil Nebula. Just bring it up. Am I sharing my screen?
Has not popped up yet.
No, no, I know. I'm just making sure that that's how I'm doing it. So I'm just
Oh
sharing my
yeah,
screen.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Please share your screen.
Here we go. So this is it right here. One. There we go. So it's very, you know, dark in there, but it is in there, as you can see from around here, and it is up here as well. This is more wide field. This is 200 millimeters at f5, and it is 8.5 minutes of data untracked. So the challenge of this is obviously, I'm untracked right now, so it's very hard to capture something this dim in without a star tracker and not even have any modification for my DSLR to have to better catch that HA data. The other problem is I also was shooting it as it was setting west because I cannot shoot completely zenith due to my tripod not able to go completely vertical. And with that being said, it also during western or when it sets west, there's also a street lamp just right there pretty much. And it's really hard to capture, with that street lamp causing a lot of gradient coming along here. And I did like a bunch of background extraction. I processed this in Zero. Um, and I also didn't really do the best job in framing. I mean, you can also tell like there's so much space here and there's like not a lot of space here, so it's very imbalanced. It's not completely centered. And also this was actually part of the stacking artifacts. Um, I would think that I'd probably do a better job if I kind of just focused on one element of it, maybe the top part versus this bottom part, because the top one is a lot more brighter than this one. So I'm able to get this one a little bit easier, um, especially with that star in there. Um, I'd like to focus more on that one, even though it will be very small or decently small in the image. I think it would look decent as well if I had more data. That's the other thing is I would like to, for things I would do differently is one, framing and two, get more data because this is only 8.5 minutes and I can do much better than that when it comes to untracked. I've done up to 18 minutes of data, and I know I can do more than that. So that's my image.
Cool. And so what camera are you shooting with?
I'm shooting with the Canon EOS 70D, and my lens is the telephoto kit telephoto lens that comes with cameras, the Canon
Okay.
cameras. It's the Canon EF 75 to 300 USM 3 and I'm shooting at f5 at 200 millimeters.
Okay. And the camera is not modified, is that correct?
Camera is not modified.
Awesome. Yeah, you took your picture down, but it looks so the bit in the top is the witch's broom, and it looked like you had, if you go clockwise to about 2 o'clock, if I remember, Pickering's triangle faintly, and at the bottom is Eastern Vale. So
Yes.
very cool. Very, very cool. All right. Marshall, did you finish your dinner?
Yeah, I mean, I can present right now, but again, I'm going to divert to anyone else if anyone else has anything to share first.
Okay.
Not I'll go.
I've got one if you guys wanted to see it. I'm not sure how to
Yes, we do.
do the
Let-
share screen.
All right, let me make you a co-host. I'll make everybody a co-host. Feel like Oprah. Everybody gets a co-host.
Is anything coming through? Or
Yep, absolutely.
okay, this was first light for a new used telescope I got was a Red Cat 61, and I picked it up off of Woodland Hills. They had one in their back. She forgot all about it. That this is the one that they used at NEAF, so it's serial number 1, and in 23. So I got a little bit of a discount with it, and it was used, but had all the parts there with it. So I had this on a AM5 mount using an entirely ZWO environment, an ASI 2600 MC Duo, controlled by ASI Air. And it's about 4 hours of imaging time with using an Antlia HA03 filter. So it was just processed as HOO. And I was surprised that it fit everything in the field of view. That's why I was so thrilled about it. I was like, oh gosh, because I've imaged portions of this before with larger focal length scopes, but just to see it all in one image was kind of cool, and not having to do a mosaic. And while it was processing, I thought it was kind of cool that when you see all these stars, it kind of distracts some time from actually seeing, when you move the stars, actually kind of just seeing the nebula portion of it. So it just seemed, I kind of liked it. It looked rather interesting
Yeah,
to
definitely.
see it like this.
What is the focal length of that telescope?
Focal length is it 500? I know it's a 4.8 focal ratio.
Oh, so 61?
Yeah, the 61.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 229, or sorry,
220. Okay.
292. It's been a long day. Sorry. Okay.
Don't actually do math, but yeah, but it's a fun little. I like the scope itself because there was no field flatteners or anything. You just pop the camera right on the back and don't worry about spacing, and everything came out nice and crisp. And for a first light image, trying that whole setup, it was relatively easy. I enjoyed that, but like some people complain about that whole ASI Air thing, you're kind of stuck using the ZWO environment, and too bad you can't control their cameras. So.
Yeah. So you said the Duo, right?
Yeah, the Duo MC. Yeah.
Okay. I assume it does well guiding with the narrowband filter then, huh?
No problem whatsoever. I even tried that using my other using a 110 telescope refractor, and I found that because the guiding is so good with the M5, I usually have 4-second exposures for the guide camera, and it seems quite sufficient that it finds everything and can track real well with it. I've gone down to about maybe 2 seconds at the most, but then if you go under 2 seconds, you start losing it. It loses the guide stars a lot. So by keeping it up around 3 or 4 seconds on the guide camera, it was not an issue. Not an issue.
Okay. Very cool. That's interesting because a lot of the recommendations I've heard for the AM5 or harmonics drive mounts is short guide exposures.
Exactly. That's what I read too. Was like it's supposed to like fast, fast exposures. But I was getting 0.4 RMS on this stuff. So
Okay.
I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks great.
Okay.
Thanks for
Thank you.
sharing. All right. Somebody else? Don, you usually have something. You have something today? All right, I don't mean to pick on people, but I'll pick on Marshall. I have no problem with that. Marshall, you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Wait, hold on. Let me actually open the images first. On my laptop. Sorry. All right. So I have 3.5 images to share. This one I already posted earlier on Discord. So for those of you on Discord, already shared this image, and the one after this as well. But this is M57. Uh, Not much else to say about it, really. Shot with the C9 1/4 and the 533 MC Pro. Um,
Filtered time.
uh, just the UVI cut. Yeah, straight up.
How much time did you spend
I
on
think
it?
it's like I want to say it was like 4 hours.
Okay.
Um, there's the funny thing about this is like there's no problem with like getting photons on it. Um, the challenge really is focal length and seeing. If you want to get like, I think if you want to get really sharp images, it would seem to me, at least based on other results that I've seen with the C9 1/4 on this object, or just other long focal lengths, it's like because it's so small, if you really want any of like, so we can zoom in and look at, some of the details, but they you can get a little bit of detail in there, which is nice, but like if you get it on a bunch of nights with really good seeing or whatever, um, I don't know if you could do lucky imaging with something like this, but I'm sure some maniacs have tried. But um, yeah, so it looks fine. But even this target is smaller than you would think. Most of you probably already know that, but like seriously, it is a challenge even for the I shoot the C9 1/4 with the 0.77 reducer, so it's like point or 1760 millimeter focal length or something like that. This is pretty long,
Yeah.
comparatively. I could have tried it natively, and actually natively it might not be bad either because again it's pretty bright, but I wasn't really invested on making like an amazing image on this target, so that's what I got.
Looks
Next.
good.
The classic. I'm pretty sure this is a Supernova Remnant. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, I think I'm right on that. So, again, I also posted this in Discord already. This is the Crescent Nebula, NGC 6888, and yeah, this again, when I shared this on Discord, I mean, this is basically just a test shot with with my new filters at the time, which are the Antlia. Um, they call it the edge line. Uh, so it has nothing to do with the kind of confusing, because the Celestron has the edge variant, but they have nothing to do with that. They're just called the edge Antlia filters. So But they're 4.5 nanometer bandpass filters, so pretty tight, or at least, like halfway in between, I would say between, all the way down to like the 3 nanometer bandpass, which I guess would be like the highest standard. But and yeah, this is literally like I think no more than 2 hours of data. I think it might just be an hour and a half of hydrogen alpha and oxygen, um, HOO combined. Yeah. I was like, put it together. I did very minimal processing on this, and I was like, this was an hour and a half of data. That ain't half bad. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty pleased with that. And it fit nicely on this is shot with the 533 monochrome version. Uh, and yeah, it fit pretty nicely on the sensor. Yeah, so had to throw it in there. Just like, hey, look, check it out.
I
I will say, of course, like, if you look at like really good images, like obviously you see like more of the O3 kind of bubble, I guess you would call it. Plus a lot more like H alpha in the surrounding region. But like I said, for an hour and a half, I wasn't gonna like fight that battle. Because I think that looks just nice the way it is.
yeah,
And then
it does.
last but not least, I have two images here that aren't complete, basically. And Naveen and I were very ad hoc trying to like see if there was a way I could like fix the colors before this meeting in the time before the meeting, which I thought started at 7, but didn't have time to actually really fix it. So this is what I got. But this is M27 Dumbbell Nebula. This is shot with the same rig, the C9 1/4 with the 533 monochrome, but in broadband, so LRGB. But I did also get a little bit of H alpha data, which I will also have to somehow figure out how to integrate. Again, I haven't completed my work, but you can actually see, and one thing I was kind of aiming for was to get like, the outer, the really super faint, like I don't know what you call it, but um
Like wings,
yeah, the wings
kind of.
or like you can't call it like a halo because it's certainly not really in the shape of the halo, but you can actually see it pretty clearly in the H alpha data. In the broadband data, you can make it out too, but
Hmm.
it's much fainter. I would say things that I would do differently on this image in particular. I was pretty lazy with how I was acquiring this, and I didn't check for things like backspacing and tilt. And so, and on top of that, I had a really nasty reflection because when I put the dew shield on the C9 1/4, it was giving me guiding problems. So some nights had the dew shield on, but some nights I didn't. And yeah, there's a really nasty reflection in about half of the data. So that I think kind of ruined. So it's funny if you can't really see it. I didn't really stretch it very well. So again, I got to go back and work on it. But you can see the angel wing or whatever kind of, down here in the lower left. Um, Again, it may not be coming through on the Zoom call, but it's definitely there. But like it gets super washed out near the top, I think, due to the reflection. So undecided, what I'm going to ultimately do with that yet. But I think otherwise the data is certainly workable. I got plenty of data, and like I said, I do have the H alpha data, which will help with that because, like I said, there's definitely some of the angel wing in the H alpha data. So yeah.
Cool. Um, no, that looks good. I've done dumbbell with a lot of data, and it takes a bit of work even then to get those faint bits to come out. So good luck.
Thanks.
Um, it is a planetary nebula, by the way.
Right. Wait, does that not count as a supernova remnant?
No,
Oh,
yeah.
whoopsie.
Yeah, and Crescent, I just looked up Crescent as an emission nebula, but you wouldn't think it the way that it's structured. But
Okay, yeah, I thought I had read that, so I'm just cheating all the way here, basically.
that's
But
fine.
um,
Apparently, just there's like
hey,
a
this one's
Wolf
a supernova
Rayet
remnant.
star
So
in the
this is not.
middle.
I guess this wouldn't be a supernova remnant then either, then would it be?
Ah,
Because this is just a planetary nebula.
right, yeah, planetary. I think. I'll give you a pass on ring. I love ring nebula.
But the other ones fail. Okay, got it. If Chris Cole were here, I'd be out of my butt. Sure.
Oh, good.
But I do have some other stuff to share, um, if we go to that. So
All right, great. Thanks, Marshall. Anybody else for Supernova Remnant? Okay. Anybody? Well, Marshall, you said you had some for non-Supernova Remnants.
Mhm.
Anybody besides Marshall? I have a couple too.
Yeah,
I
I
do
do.
have some too.
Don.
Yep.
Okay, Don, we haven't heard from you. Would you like to go,
Okay.
sir?
All right. And let's see. Uh, did that come up?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the Deerlick group. This is the larger galaxy is NGC 7331. And there's four galaxies, small galaxies above it, and that group is called the Deerlick group. And over down on the lower right near the corner is Stephan's quintet. There's five galaxies there. They kind of call them the fleas. And the this was taken with my a Stella Mira 90 millimeter Apo refractor, which is 540 millimeter focal length, a 533 MC Pro, and the field radius is 0.868 degrees. So it's cropped a little bit. And it represents 68 3-minute sub exposures. And this was taken from my my backyard in that. So I guess the scene was pretty good because you can see some detail in in 7331 and that.
Yeah. There's some, if you look around the field, there's more galaxies around.
Yes.
If you top left, there's like a face-on spiral. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, right
That's
there.
cool.
I counted, not counting this galaxy, I counted about 24 in here.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
Thanks for sharing. So this actually, I've got my Rokin on to get pretty much this field as well. I'm glad to see it here. It looks very cool.
Yeah, I have another one. How do a new share up, huh?
If you're sharing the
Do I stop
photo
share
app,
this first?
yeah, that may be the easiest thing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and then go down and share again. Yeah, there we go. And let's try this.
There we
Yeah,
go. Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, this is IC 1396 and this is 1396A, which is zoomed in on the elephant trunk. And this is just slightly cropped to get rid of some artifacts from stacking. So it's essentially uncropped. And again, the same scope and camera and the same number of exposures, 68 3-minute sub exposures. I've increased the red, the H alpha, stretched it some more, but I kind of like it sort of subdued a little bit because it's kind of a faint anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really love the contrast of that faint red with the dark nebula. It
Mhm.
puts you nice star field. I think it looks really lovely.
Yeah, this is with and both is with the standard UV
Okay.
IR cut filter, and this is also from my backyard. In that, I'd rather get this is like 3 hours and 24 minutes. If I had 6, 7 hours, that would be a better way of bringing out, yeah, instead of just stretching and that run further, it would look better. And I got one more,
Okay.
and and this is just simply a handheld shot with my cell phone, iPhone 13, and at the telephoto. I think it's 77 millimeters, and it's 1 second at ISO 2500. And this is at a friend of mine. He's down the road from me 4 or 5 miles. He has 30 acres, and he had a nice clear shot down to the southwest. And for just a simple, I'd like to get back there in the next day or next couple of days, maybe even Sunday, because the moon, which is nearly full, won't rise until like 8:48. So
Hmm.
it'd be good to get some shots with the stars and the black sky and that. But yeah, nothing special. But if it was on a tripod, it would be a little sharper. Um, and of course, if it was on a tripod and had the time, you could tell it's dropping down. The interesting thing is you can see the I guess the anti-tail. You can just make out this
Yeah.
like straight line coming down.
I was just looking at that. It's definitely there's something there. That's
Yeah, yeah.
when did you take this?
On was it the 14th, Monday or 15th, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I wish I had it on the on. I just didn't have my tripod with me and an adapter to hold the camera, and I would have taken like a dozen shots right in a row, and then stacked it in sequitur or something, and then process would have turned out even nicer. And yeah, but anyway, looking with binoculars, with my 10 by 50s, my gosh, um, that's 6.5 degrees. I mean, you can go like 2 fields, 3 fields. I mean, his tail was quite long.
Wow. I haven't
I
had a chance to try and look at it. Maybe tomorrow night.
Mhm. Well,
All right.
yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you, Don.
Mhm.
Um, Ben, you said you had something?
Yes, I do. I actually have a lot, but I'm not, so I'd be willing to wait my turn and if anyone else that wants to show anything first.
Okay. I have a lot too, so I'm waiting. Marshall, did you have something more?
Uh, I can go next if
Okay,
no.
go for it.
Okay. Hold on, let me sit down. All right. Okay. So again, most of these I already shared in Discord, but I do have one new one. I'll go quick. This is M13, shot with the C9 1/4. Again, this is kind of just a test shot, from over the summer that I hadn't got a chance to share yet in any of the imaging meetings. So yeah, it's globular clustered. Not much else to say. Although I do like how, with the C9 1/4 allows you to really kind of go in a little farther and make out more of the individual stars. And I shot this in the past with my smaller refractor, and again, it was nice to get a chance to try it with the C9 1/4. This is the Eagle Nebula, also with the C9 1/4. This, unfortunately, I wanted to get it in narrowband, but I just didn't have my stuff quite ready yet for narrowband. So, and I mentioned this to Naveen, so he knows as well. I just like barely had the time to even get this image. This is only like 4 hours or something like that. Luckily, it's a pretty bright nebula, so it isn't bad. Would have liked to have gotten more data, but you can zoom in and see some pretty decent detail. Again, there are a lot of people out there who've gotten better results even with the same scope and a similar camera, but I was pretty happy with that, especially kind of, well, I wouldn't say this is my first time shooting it, but first time kind of like zooming in like that to see the pillars of creation, which is cool.
Yeah, looks
Uh,
cool.
yeah, this is a redo of old data. I don't know if I posted this in the Discord or not, but this is the Triangulum Galaxy. This is data from last winter, taken with my 80 mm refractor and the 533 MC again. Uh, just again the UV IR cut filter. One thing that I really liked, so I just didn't like, I don't know what I did with my initial processing, but I went back and like I said, redid it, and I just got like way better colors. I might have just had to do with like SPCC, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, way better result. And you can see a lot of the nebula within the galaxy a lot clearer, which I was like super ecstatic with, especially this one. I think it's NGC 602 or 604. I can't remember the number, but that thing is bright. Almost looks like a star. But my favorite part of this image is actually some of these like there's these hydrogen beta nebula. Again, that each have their own NGC designations. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but these really, weird like blue specks. Those look pretty cool. And yeah, there's some interesting scientific results on those objects as well. About like their mission and like hypothesis and how they're formulated or whatever. This galaxy kind of got all sorts of peculiarity or peculiar things about it, but yeah. All right. Dana isn't here. Dana has been pressing me to share this image in the imaging meeting over and over again. So I'm gonna ping him after this and tell him he didn't show up to the meeting. But this is M51, the question mark galaxy or the whirlpool galaxy, whatever you want to call it. This is again C9 1/4 with the 533 MC. Again, just the UV Erica filter. This I think is like 16 hours or something absurd like that. So a lot of data. And despite that, I still didn't get as much as like the light bridge. If you know, then you know what I'm talking about. But there's a little bit more tidal tail that comes off of these galaxies, kind of open here in this arc. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but
Yeah, we can.
like you can like in my data, you can bring it out, but then it just makes everything else bad. It wasn't worth fighting for, so I settled for this, which I think.
That's very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Dana would be
Absolutely.
saying that I settled for this, but it's hard when and again, just adding insult to injury, I did go and like compare this to Adam Block's photo of this, and it just like you had to have admiration for some of the work of the uh, some of the giants in our field, but yeah, I think that's still pretty pretty pleased with that, obviously.
Yeah, it's great.
Next, this is the Milky Way. This is from some property that friends of ours own out in near Beaufort, North Carolina. I'd always kind of wanted. This is honestly my first ever like actual Milky Way shot. So I'm pretty pleased. It's funny. I'm pretty pleased with how how the sky turned out, despite there's definitely some lights that I was fighting against there, but but I did a pretty lazy job on the foreground, admittedly. So, you zoom into lots of regular. I'm
Nobody
sure,
would have known.
yeah, I'm gonna share it with you guys, and that way y'all can make fun of me later. But um, yeah, so like I did a killer job of processing the sky itself, but I just have zero experience with with terrestrial. Well, I shouldn't say zero, but like people who actually are good at this are doing a better job of taking their foreground photos. But um, I think I could still, work the data to make the foreground look better, but I just kind of settled with that for now, and I may go back and revisit it later and make it better. But um, yeah, there's a lot of people that, that I know personally that were, really excited to see this shot. So uh, might not be as, impressive in the astronomy club imaging meeting, but
Oh, that's nice. What
Yeah.
camera lens were
Oh
you
yeah,
using?
sorry. This is the Canon T3i, the Rebel, and a Rokinon 14 millimeter stop down. I think it goes down to 2.8, so I think I just shot it wide open.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
All in.
yeah, yeah. It was fine, and Blur X fixes a lot of things too. So
Yeah.
'cause I had a
Um,
little bit of star trailing, but
a thought on the foreground, just to it looked like there's some color modeling. One thing you could
yeah.
try is extract the luminance and reduce the noise in that, and then like convolve the color image and
So
recombine.
I processed the sky in PixInsight, but I processed the foreground in GIMP.
Why?
Yeah, I had very limited tools at my disposal. Um,
Uh,
just because I didn't know if I wanted to like try to do the foreground in PixInsight. So like yeah, like just simply just throwing any of the PixInsight noise removal tools at it would probably help tremendously. But yeah,
yeah,
I just
there. I
ran.
it, I mean, honestly, it looks great the way it is. I didn't look at the foreground.
Yeah, I mean that's pixel people, of course, but I
Or
had
our
to.
worst critic, our own worst critic there.
I think the city lights or whatever just add something to it.
Yeah, I kind of agree actually, and I'm glad you corroborate me on that because um obviously it makes for some nasty gradient, but again, with the tools that we have in PixInsight, it's like that ain't nothing. So
Yeah.
That is also a superb sky because I've taken the Milky Way up in Prince Edward Island and which is very very dark and but this looks good.
well, I guess I should say this is like I want to say it's like 15 minutes stacked or something like that. Like it's a pretty good amount for a
Oh,
Milky Way.
okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
But
Still,
yeah,
yeah, it looks good.
admittedly, the conditions at night were actually pretty bad.
Oh,
I,
really?
yeah, I think we had a little bit of at least a little bit of smoke or whatever. But I mean, you could still see it naked eye. Like it wasn't like that bad, but like I've seen it better. But I hadn't shot in it with anything with better conditions. But yeah, it still worked out, so can't complain. But all right, I'm gonna keep going for the sake of time. This is the only one I haven't. I've posted some. I've been working on this for a while. This is the Wizard Nebula NGC 7380. Again, shot with the C9 and a quarter, but this is shot with the monochrome version. And this is the Hubble palette, so SHO. And this is two panels because it's a little too big for the 533 chip to fit the whole thing on it. And this is actually this is a pretty tight crop of the full field. So there's a little bit more mainly on the top and the bottom, but I cropped it in a little bit just for presentation. But um, this is, like I said, two panels. I think it's about 30 hours total. So about 15 hours each panel. Mostly, most of which I have a lot of extra um, S2 and O3 data than I did hydrogen alpha data, which I was glad I did because this was basically my first big narrowband project, and man, that stuff is faint. Like I was like, oh, I was just expecting, that, all the blue and red or whatever is just gonna, come pretty easily in a camera frame. That is not, no. Like even after I stacked it, it was dim. So that's just what I learned while working on this. But so yeah, I was pretty pleased with this result as well. You can definitely zoom in pretty here and see a lot of the cool details. Yeah. The stars, unfortunately, I was simply too lazy to get RGB stars, so I just did the SETI Astro narrowband to RGB star
Hmm.
script, whatever it's called. And it turned out pretty good. Again, I don't know how accurate it really is. So like, if any actual astronomers like would look through that image and be like, yeah, I don't know about that star, but again, that's kind of probably pixel peeping, but
It
yeah,
looks great.
yeah, thanks.
Where'd you shoot this from? Your
From my backyard.
which?
Portal, like just under 7. Portal,
Okay.
so um, yeah,
Thus the amount of yeah, the long hold time and yeah.
yeah, lots of integration time, but
Mhm.
hmm yeah, and I think that's it. So
Yeah,
sorry, I also had a lot of images, more than I thought, I guess.
no worries.
All right.
One thing just on the star colors, if you wanted another option, I've been using there's a script from Polyman Astro 4X um,
4X
color
palette
palette.
utility.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I'll
I hadn't
use
heard of
that.
that. I hadn't tried it yet, but
The it does a neat job with you extract the stars and feed it to for each channel and does a pretty good job of colorizing them. I mean, it's not going to be real color.
yeah. I mean, I didn't even bother to check with these stars. I was like, okay, it just didn't look like narrowband stars, so that's
Exactly. So
yeah.
yeah, these look fine, but I just like if you wanted another option to
Okay.
try out for different color,
Yeah, I
it
haven't.
does a good job.
Again, this was kind of my first, again, major narrowband project. Um, and it's like we'll do one palette at a time, basically. So maybe the 4X palette was something I'll try next. So
Well, it'll give you the stars. You give it the background and stars separately,
okay.
so you could throw away the background and
Yeah,
keep
well,
the
I mean that's what I
stars.
did with that. Like I extracted the stars and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, but good to know.
cool.
Thank
All right, Ben.
Let's just hope I can do this within time. I just have a lot.
Okay.
So I'm gonna first start with an image I got a little while back, actually. Let me open it up. There we go. Then present. So as you can see, this is actually the moon. And I had gotten this with my Orion Observer 134 millimeter EQ telescope. And that is a cheaper Newt reflector from Orion. It was about $200 on Amazon. And I just used the NextYZ, the Celestron NextYZ adapter and attached my phone. Oh, no, this image I didn't do that for. I just did I attached my Nikon D40 that I had at the time to it. So I used the Nikon D40 for this image. That is a 2006 camera, I believe. Um, and I got 23 seconds worth of data on this and processed it in AutoStacker, GIMP, and PIP. And yeah, I think honestly it was just very interesting. This was also manual, so this wasn't this wasn't tracked. This was untracked with the wobbly EQ mount that it has because it's a cheaper scope. Um, so and with the balance of the DSLR attached to it, it was way harder to keep aligned at all times. And I also didn't have the ability to use a intervalometer with a camera, so I had to use the 10-second timer that was built in. to the camera, so I couldn't use like an external
Yeah, it's funny you
intervalometer.
mentioned that. I remember I also had a Nikon. I had a Nikon D50, and that was like the reason why I had to get rid of it. Just like it didn't take an intervalometer.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
That's
Funny quirk
probably
of
one of
that.
the big reasons why I
Yeah.
upgraded to the
Right.
Canon 70D.
Yep.
Yeah. But I just find it sorry, 1 second. I just found it interesting how much detail I got out of this thing. Um, and like I got like a bunch of creators and all that. And also wasn't like one of the best phases to get a lot of details of the moon. But I got a lot of good color details and whatnot. It was pretty interesting, and there is some artifacts of the stacking, and it's probably mostly because of the fact that it was untracked. But yeah, I think it was pretty good for what I had with me.
Yeah, it's
Um,
trending towards like the mineral moon look with the coloring.
yeah, that's what
That's
I was
pretty
going
cool.
for. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
So I'm gonna stop sharing this one. I'm gonna go to my next image, which will be this one. So this one is a little bit less exciting, and that is mostly because of just how little you can see in here. But the object that I shot is actually in here. And this is the Flaming Star Nebula. It is present around here and present around here. Now it's very little, but it's in there. Um, the reason why I had this framed up this way was because I was seeing if I could get some like other nebulosity in the Milky Way as well in here. I wasn't sure how bright the Milky Way was around here because Flaming Star is very close to where that Milky Way area is. So it's hoping to get like a little cool little gas right here as well as the Flaming Star on the other side. And also the star cluster that's up here. Um, but this was about 6 minutes of data. And it's very interesting that I was actually able to get something, out of, you know, a what's it called, a kit lens with the Canon EOS 70D and unmodified and untracked. And I got this in 7 minutes or 6 minutes. So it's kind of interesting how it's actually in there in 6 minutes of exposure time. So I just found that very interesting. Um, I'll stop sharing that one. And then I'll move on to my next one, which will be up here. Here we go. So this is a known object for starting out, Orion. It's a wide field of Orion with flaming or flame nebula, and I also have a little bit of Horsehead in there. Yeah, just a
Yeah,
very, very little bit.
yeah. Well, you can make
Very,
out the dark nebula there. Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
And there's a slight bit of, I'm not sure if it's popping up on the Zoom call, but there's a slight bit of red in there.
Yeah.
Just a slight bit. But this was 12 minutes of data, I believe. Let me check my notes. Yes, 12 minutes. This was 12 minutes f 5.6, 200 millimeters with the same equipment that I always use, the Canon EOS 70D with the 300 or 75 to 300 millimeter USM3 lens. That's the kit telephoto that comes with the camera. And yeah, I think this was pretty good because of the way I processed it. I kind of removed a lot of the noise just by not stretching it as much. Like there's technically a lot more data that was in here. I just didn't really stretch it out as much because then you would stretch out a lot more noise. And I kind of like the contrast with Orion and the more darker background. So I kind of just enjoyed that, and I wanted to have it be a little bit more of a prettier picture than a more data-driven picture. So I actually have this as my current phone background because this is pretty much the only image out of all my images that I've actually considered to be not noisy, not too noisy for my phone.
Looks good.
So yeah, this is my Orion picture.
Yeah, Running Man is showing up there.
Yeah, Running Man
Yeah,
is
that's
definitely
nice.
showing up there, and I actually like, the cool little detail you get around it here. I
Yeah.
actually really like that a lot. So my next image is going to be an image that I took around the same time I also took Orion, which is the Perseus double cluster. You don't see this pop up a lot on untracked guides, but this is actually a decent target for untracked, especially how it actually appears in each one of your exposures. So this one's pretty decently easy, and especially to align for 200 millimeters, it's not that hard. The star quality is not the best. I mean, you're talking untracked with the kit lens, so you're going to get lots of aberrations, and they're not going to be perfectly circular, and you're going to see that a lot more with the star cluster. But I just found it interesting to shoot a star cluster untracked, especially this one. This one's really quite nice, especially in binocular. So I was like, I kind of want to image it.
Yep. Yeah. There's another cluster. I don't know how well it would do with a short exposure off of Cassiopeia, um, Caroline's Rose.
I seen that. I was thinking of actually imaging
Vi
that, but I wasn't sure yet.
Visually, it's super cool.
Oh yeah,
Um,
visually, yeah. I
but you
seen that.
mentioned like that. What I saw it at SRSP last year, and I had the same reaction of like, "Hey, I want a picture of that." It took me almost a year to get one. Yeah.
So my next picture will actually be what I think is my best image that I've ever taken so far. And that is of a common target especially for the beginners. It is the Andromeda Galaxy. This is the most amount of integrated data that I've gotten, 18 minutes. And this was shot at 200 millimeter focal length. And it's a lot harder to frame because the galaxy is actually pretty big at 200. So untracked, you don't really want this to go very low down here or high up here or right over here, because then you'll be starting to cut off some of the data that'll be here, and then you're going to have to crop that out because that'll now become stacking artifacts. So you want to be aligning this very often, and I think I had to do it like every two exposures, every two exposures I'd realign, and I just did that all night long.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Dedication.
I'm dedicated. So it's pretty difficult. And all these images, by the way, were at Bortle 6. So this is my personal home. I never traveled out to take any of these pictures. Um,
But it's nice you
so
could see the dust lanes in the galaxy spiraling
yes, and I
around.
was very surprised at this detail that it happened to appear. I loved this and
Mhm.
how I can actually see more than one dust lane actually
Yep.
popping up around here. I found that really, really interesting. And also being able to see the neighboring galaxies near it. I believe it's M33 and M110, I think.
Sounds right.
No, it's M32 and M110, I think, because this is
Okay.
M31. Yeah. Yeah, so this one I find was pretty much my best. Um, then my next image will be this one. Let me get the full resolution one. It's in this folder right here. There we go. This one's also a target that is photographed a lot for untracked, and that is the Pleiades star cluster. This was 15 minutes of data at a f5 with the same equipment that I always use, and also I do ISO 3200 for everything. And one of the things that surprised me the most when it comes to this was just how dark the reflection nebulae is in Pleiades. I expected it to be a lot brighter for being um a visual target as well as a uh beginner's target. Um, but it was really hard to get actually any detail out of this. I tried I believe it was 8 minutes beforehand, and that was at 75 millimeter, so it wasn't as zoomed in as this one, and I barely got like any nebulosity in it. So um, I was just like, holy, I have to get like a lot more, a lot more data in it, and I have to shoot it a lot more close up. So yeah, and I mean, even here, there's not really that much of the reflection nebulae in there, but it's in there. I actually really enjoy this area a lot. Um, kind of get that
Yeah.
detail in there, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a fun target. It's moving through some dust, so I think it kind of trends from reflection nebula to integrated flux nebula at some point, where it's
Yeah,
no longer really picking up light from the stars.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I love dusty targets if you don't know. So yeah.
Dusty targets definitely look so nice.
Yep.
Well, the ongoing joke is like, yeah, the Naveen is the Dust Lord. It's
Okay, I have one last image, and that is just a wide field I did of Milky Way at 75 millimeters. This one's very noisy because I stretched it out a lot. I wanted to see just how much I could get out of it. This was 10 minutes of data around the region with Sagittarius star cloud, Swan Nebula, Eagle Nebula. Um, and this was, I think, the second time I actually started using the setup with the Canon EOS 70D. This is the second image I got with it. So this was decently far back. This is like 6 months ago. But I haven't really joined any of the imaging meetings, so I haven't actually been able to show any of my images here. So hence why I'm showing my older images. Yeah,
Is
this one was pretty interesting to process.
there's a lot going on. Is there the globular cluster in the bottom left?
There is a globular cluster. I forget exactly the name of that cluster. I did look it up when I was processing it, but I don't remember the exact details of that one. I think
Yeah,
it might be M7. I'm not sure completely. No,
I think
M7's not a globular.
hmm,
M7 is an open cluster. I don't remember.
I like this one, Ben. You said you liked Andromeda the most of yours, so I've liked this one the most. The star field with the dark nebula and a couple emission nebula in there. There's a lot to look at. It's very cool.
It is a lot to look at. I just think like there's just a little bit too much like issues with it that are
Yeah,
just kind of like eh. Also, I don't enjoy the contrast too much. Like the contrast with the black nebulae is pretty good, but also it's just this background is not as nice as I liked it to be. And also the star quality, especially around the star clusters, could be improved. So
well, we could always improve our pictures. That's okay. I
yeah,
still like it.
it is also like especially untracked with the kit lens, the you get the aberration as well as the non-circular stars. It really makes Sagittarius star cloud look like a distorted mess. So, especially when you zoom in, but out far it looks all right, I guess. But I also kind of got I think just a little bit of the pillars of creation. And I've always wanted to go closer up with Eagle Nebula and try to get the Pillars of Creation untracked. I think that would be an interesting one to do, but I kind of missed my shot. So
It'll be back.
it'll be back, but I think by the time it'll be back, I'd probably have better equipment. So most likely a Star Tracker by then.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if in PixInsight with some of the add-ins like the de-blur and denoise that you could correct some of that.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
have
it
PixInsight, so I couldn't
Blur
tell you.
Exterminator is just flat out magical. Yeah, it can do amazing things for stars.
Yeah, I've never.
Marshall's seen the just this
Yeah,
horrible stars for my
ran
old
this. Yeah,
C8.
you ran this through BlurX, and yeah, you be getting better images than Naveen. Quite literally.
You're starting from something really nice compared to what I had been starting
Yeah, exactly.
with. Uh,
Although, admittedly, the C8 is as great as a C8 is. It's like a camera lens on average, is probably a little better optically to the corners, especially than a C8. But like, yeah, yeah, BlurX is yeah. Magic is the nicest way to describe it.
Black magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd get PixInsight, but I would
Yeah,
say
another
go
thing to save
for
up
Star
for
Tracker
sure
first.
if you're committed to doing this for sure.
I'm going to get PixInsight at some point, but right now my focus on getting is the Star Tracker.
I
Yeah,
think that's yeah, totally totally
yeah.
feasible.
Yeah.
A lot you can do with other tools like Cyril and some of the other open source, noise reduction, background extraction, star extraction tools. So, uh, well, cool. Thanks, Ben.
No problem.
Um, I have a pile, but I've had that pile for a while, some of it. So I can wait till next time. Getting late. I've had a kid come in and ask me to tuck them in once already. So,
I got a couple of quick ones if you
all
want.
right. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And sorry, they're not deep space stuff. I actually sold my EQR6 this summer, so the scope has just been sitting idle. Let me see about sharing my screen.
Are you planning on getting another mount or
I am, and I'm thinking about the reason why I got rid of it is because it was so bloody heavy to
yeah.
move around.
We were just
Uh,
trying to tell Ben and warn him against that. So
Yeah. Are you seeing my screen,
Yes,
yeah.
perchance?
sir.
Yep.
Okay. So I had a couple of opportunities this summer to be in some really dark places. This is the backcountry of Great Basin National Park. So it's a border one sky type thing, and unfortunately, we had a moon come up, and so in light of that, I end up resorting to star trails, but it's all natural light here and stacked. I'm shooting with either a Nikon Z8 or a Z9, and I think this particular image was done with a 20 millimeter f1.8 at 5.6. And I typically do 4-minute exposures and then put them together. So that's coming from. Um,
Lovely.
the okay, so whoops. Um, this is further up the mountain. This is up about 11,000 feet. This is with some bristlecone pines, and unfortunately, you can see Andromeda sitting out there. And this is just a 60-second exposure. It's just kind of a fun thing to do. Um, um, Especially when we were actually up on top of the mountain when the wind was just howling and it was not a very stable environment. And then there were some storms coming through. So we had to skedaddle down to a lower environment to get there. This is another place. This is called Stella Lake. And I had to hang around for a long time to get the Milky Way to pop through the clouds. And this is actually what we call a focus stack because it was really dark. And so there are 3 or 4 images here focused at different spots. That's why the rocks are sharp, and then the middle ground, and then finally the sky, and then put all together in I use Lightroom and Photoshop to build my images. This is again Great Basin National Park, Perseid meteor shower, which is one of the reasons why I went out there to shoot. And this is a culmination of about 3 hours of exposures, 10 seconds each. I think that, yeah, this is the Z8 with 20 millimeter f1.8 at 5.6. I shoot 10-second exposures, 1 second delay, and then shoot again. So there's about 1,000 images that went through the process, and then you pick out the ones with the meteors in them and put them together. And unfortunately, I couldn't actually zero this around the North Star, which is up in here, because I had some clouds come in and obscured part of the location. So I just kind of let them show the way they are. But the big event that took place, unexpected aurora that popped in for a couple of hours that night, and so it was pretty exciting, pretty fun time for that. And finally, and the last one is if you just turn 180 degrees, of course, now you've got the long streaks coming down as opposed to the meteors coming towards you. They're kind of going down over the horizon. That gives us nice long streaks and good color in the meteors as well. At least with Perseid, like the December one is for me at least. I see more. Everything seems to be white as opposed to the nice colors that we get out of Perseid. So, and that's what's called the Snake Range in the background. So, yeah, that's what I got. And hopefully next time sometime in the spring, I'll pick up another mount and do some more deep space stuff.
Those are all nice. Nice job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah,
very
lovely
nice.
pictures.
All
That
right, how
Aurora
do I
one
get out of
is
here?
really,
Yeah, I
really
love it.
cool.
Yeah, I love the one with the Perseid's meteor shower with Pleiades on the top right. I found that really interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. Stop share. Here we go.
Somewhere, yep.
All right,
All
back to
right.
you.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Anybody? I think that's everybody, unless Brian, did you have something?
I can postpone till next time.
All right. Well, then we have pictures for next time for sure then. Excellent.
Am I able to mention something real quick?
Sorry, what?
Am I able to mention something real quick?
Oh, yeah.
So I was actually interested in like, and it was very interesting to see just how little astrophotographers know about this one nebula as far as I've seen. And it's the IFN, the Integrated Flux Nebula. I'm not sure if any of y'all have heard of it,
Oh, yeah.
but it's the nebulosity around Polaris.
Yes.
And
Don't
it's
get
said to
Naveen
be
started.
I've got about
Dustin word.
70 to 80 hours of data right now on that I'm
And that's actually
Yeah.
interestingly going to be my next target. And that is because of one thing. Since it's around Polaris, the stars around that area don't move as often and don't move like as fast.
Yeah.
So you can actually on track, you can take 20-second exposures instead of the usual 1 to 2. So, and I actually watched a Nico Carver video or Nebula Photos on YouTube, and he did a video on it, and he said that he was able to get a really actually decently good image on track with the Rokinon 135 millimeter, and I was thinking of shooting that with my current setup and seeing what I get from it. So I
That'll
thought
be
I would mention that
exciting.
one.
Yeah. Running or guiding near Polaris, just FYI, is a pain. I typically have to throw away 5 to 10%, if not more, of the images because its guiding just loses its mind. But yeah, I have it, as Marshall said, a thing for dusty bits. So at some point, I'm gonna have to pull the plug on collecting data around Polaris. But I don't know.
Why?
I
Because you'll
prob
run out of hard drive space.
More like I won't be able to process it. Um, but right now it's well, the moon's over there, so okay, we'll get some more data on Polaris.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
Uh, all right. Well, I think we'll wrap it there then. Thank you everybody for joining and sharing your pictures, and I look forward to seeing more.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Take
Bye
care.
all. Good night.
Cheers.